Time now for The Lid. The panel is back. Eddie Glad, John Podhoretz, Gillian Tett. John, the Republican Party's silence on Donald Trump alienating and attacking our allies. It's really striking when you go back last year, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, and you see Mitch McConnell say that President Obama alienated our allies, or Paul Ryan say that our allies can't trust us because of Obama, or Mitt Romney saying the same thing. I mean, it's like, I feel like I'm taking crazy pills.
Well, you are taking crazy pills. I mean, Katie, you are taking crazy pills. We're all taking crazy pills because this is politics at its most
Donald
blatant,
Trump is
right?
just one big crazy pill?
Well,
that
he's
we're all
a crazy
taking
pill,
every day?
and everybody in his wake in the Republican Party is surfing behind, you know, the big kahuna, just trying to stay on their boards and not get thrown off. And they've decided that there's no percentage in them criticizing him.
But there's
and
there's also a real disconnect and a real there's real damage potentially being done to just the way we do business politically in this country and the way our institutions are trusted by the Republicans not going after their president when he goes after the Justice Department or goes after our allies and not pushing back and saying this is not normal, this is not okay. They're basically saying to the number of people that voted for Donald Trump, this is fine, and he's right, and we have a reason to stand by him.
Let me just give you two numbers, okay?
Yeah.
Okay. Donald Trump got 63 million votes. Paul Ryan got 108,000 votes. Donald Trump gets 63 million votes. Mitch McConnell gets 1.5 million to 2 million. These are not the size of the personality is very important here. This is how Bill Clinton took down Newt Gingrich. Newt Gingrich thought he, as Speaker of the House, was the equivalent of Bill Clinton. Bill Clinton, he went toe-to-toe with Clinton. Gingrich got 115,000 votes in Cobb County. Clinton got 50 million votes in the country. They are not equal.
Katie, I want to.
Scandals are so incredibly different.
I'm not talking about the scandals.
I know.
But I think a broader point that you're making, at least I want to impute to you, is that Trump is not alone. That Trumpism is made possible by a whole bunch of people who are complicit. That is the point I'm making. Who are complicit. So I think it's important when Trump is on the stage blowing up the G7, as much as I have a problem with NAFTA and the trade agreements as a progressive, I understand that behind it could be he talks about the deep state and he talks about globalists. There's a way in which there's an ideology that's driving how he's approaching in interesting sorts of ways, international foreign policy and the like, that plays to that base, right? And you have folk like Mitch McConnell who's declared the last 16 months as the greatest time for conservative values in the history of his time in Washington. Trump is not alone. Yeah. And if we think the problem is just him, then we don't understand the depth of the sickness.
No, I think you're right about that. Gillian, I want to get you in on this because when our allies look at what's going on in the States, do they just think to themselves, oh, you know what, whenever Donald Trump is out of office, it will normalize? Or are they looking at it in a much broader sense and saying the American people are different than we expected them to be?
Well, it's fair to say that the rest of the world is still in a state of tremendous shock and trying to work out how on earth they're going to try and cope with this. But, I mean, Donald Trump often approaches both domestic and international negotiations like something out of the wrestling ring, which, of course, is a world which he knows well. And in a sense, you have all this drama, this melodrama, this hype, this manufactured conflict. You call people crazy names, that kind of stuff. And he's transposed that wrestling ring culture into politics. What is really interesting right now is the degree to which investors and markets around the world, business people and other leaders are willing to say, you know what, this kind of crazy melodrama, it's just melodrama. We can ignore it like we might ignore a wrestling match. Because the most interesting thing about what's happened since the G7 is that after all that incredible drama, today the markets didn't react. You didn't see a big sell-off. You didn't see investors panicking. You didn't see other foreign leaders going into complete meltdown. 18 months ago, that might have happened, but now we are starting to see almost a creeping normalization. And the big question long-term is that in 10 years' time, will people regard this entire Donald Trump melodrama as just like another wrestling match that's over-finished, but the key institutions are still there? Or are you actually going to see a more fundamental erosion of trust in the system?
Gillian with the big question. Gillian, Eddie, John.